What's up, guys? Today I'm going to be doing a Yugioh deck profile for you guys today, and this one's actually going to be a really neat one. I've only used this deck a couple times. I got to use it the other day against a friend and his photon deck that he just finished, but this one's going to be based around one of my favorite monsters in Yu-Gi-Oh, and you can probably tell by the mat, it's Slifer, the Sky Dragon. Now, just something you guys should know ahead of time is that this deck, from what I've planned on using to make it, is incomplete because I still need about maybe 10 more cards for this one. I'll tell you what those cards are at the end of as I go through the deck, but yeah. So first off, we're gonna go through, as people usually do, monsters and spells and traps. So right now I'm running 2 copies of Slifer the Sky Dragon. One main reason is because Slifer, a playable version, is a really expensive card. Like the Battle Pack 2 versions, as you can see right here, these are worth about $45, and then the Shonen Jump ones are worth about $100. So you can kind of see why that, and plus you don't really need 3 Slifers, but you could, I guess, if you wanted to. I didn't actually order these Slifers. One I had to pull myself in a Battle Pack 2 kit, and then the other one I had a friend who was lucky enough to trade to me. See, I'm running 2 Slifers because you only really need 2. You could use 3, but in my opinion, you probably should only go with 2. You could use 1, but there's a card you could use if you're only running 1, but I'll show you that later. Next we have 2 copies of White Knight Dragon. This card basically is just kind of a big monster, just kind of help protect your Slifer, because his effect is that when a monster you control is targeted for an attack, you can send 1 spell or trap you control the graveyard and change the target to this card. And so yeah, it's just kind of there to help protect Slifer. So if your Slifer's attack is down because you're running out of cards in your hand, you have White Knight on the field, then that kind of helps protect him until you get more cards in your hand. And then next I'm running 3 copies of Gillosaurus because he's pretty easy to get out. You can special summon him, but then your opponent gets to special summon a monster from their graveyard. So he's just a really easy monster to kind of special summon to kind of help summon Slifer a lot faster. I'm running 1 copy of Revival Jam for a little combo I'll show you guys later. Beast King Barbaros, he's another big monster in the deck I like to use because whenever you summon him by attributing 3 monsters, that basically clears your opponent's field for you to have them wide open for 3,000 damage minimum with Beast King. But you can special summon him, or it says you can normal summon him, but without attributing. But then his attack becomes 1900, so that's kind of a little letdown. Right now I'm only running 1 copy of Destiny Hero Defender, but he's one of those cards I want to get more copies of, and I want to get 2 more, so I can have 3, because he's a 4-star monster and 2700 defense, and his effect kind of helps play into the main theme of the deck is drawing power. Because his effect is that if he's in face-up defense position during your opponent's standby phase, your opponent draws 1 card, and there's a little trap I'll tell you about later that I kind of want to use him with. Then 1 copy of Mosaic Manicore, a really neat monster to use. Plus he helps get your field filled up to summon Slifer. If you tribute him, whenever you tribute 2 monsters to summon him, during the standby phase of your next turn you can special summon those monsters back to the field so you can summon him. If he's not destroyed, that's 3 monsters ready for Slifer to come out. And a card I love to use, Marshmallon. Again, one of these cards I want to get an extra copy of. I want to get 3 copies of this guy because he's a really neat monster to use because you can summon him, face down in defense, your opponent attacks him, boom, that's an instant 1000 damage right there. And plus he can't be destroyed by battle, so if he's in defense, you're pretty much safe there. This card's in here temporarily, but I like to use him because he's got a really neat effect. Kaiku the Ghost Destroyer. His effect is that whenever he does battle damage, you can banish 2 monsters in your opponent's graveyard, and once he comes into play, your opponent can't banish from either player's graveyard, so that kind of helps protect your graveyard from having any cards, in there being banished. Next, another card I like to use is a Merrylease. He's a really neat card I got in Battle Pack 2. I looked at him and I was like, what the heck, it's a flower. But then I read his effect is that once per turn you can banish in a Merrylease from your graveyard, summon a monster full less tribute. I'm not sure if you could use it with Slifer, but I think you could, but if not, then you could use it for White Knight to help get him out easier to help protect Slifer a lot quicker, and then to, also you could use him to get out Beast King Barbaros. But I'm not sure if that would activate his effect of clearing the field. Next, another card I'm running one copy of, but I might take him out once I get more copies of the cards I need, is Card D, because he kind of helps thin out the deck, and you can use him to draw one card, but then your turn automatically ends after that. And then one copy of Treeborn Frog, just kind of help special summon and get more cards to help summon Slifer, but the thing is you can only special summon him if you don't have any spells and traps. So, but that probably shouldn't be too much of a problem. Big Shield Gardna, another good card I like to use in here. 4 stars, 2600 defense, my mistake. So he's just kind of like a backup Destiny Hero Defender until I get a few more copies. But plus he's an old school Yugioh card, so I thought that'd be really neat to use in here. And then last we have Goblin Elite Attack Force. Just 2200, just kind of a big wall to kind of stay there until you can at least get Slifer out. Mistbody, another combo I'll get into later. Pot of Avarice, just mainly for drawing power, and plus if you have any of your any monsters you want to bring back, you can just shuffle them into your deck with Pot of Avarice. Infinite cards, I'm planning on running 2 copies of this in deck, because it's basically like steroids for Slifer, because it exceeds the 6 card limit in your hand. I do have a friend who is trading me an extra copy of this, so I should be getting that pretty soon, but really great card to use with Slifer. Soul Exchange, only really need 1 copy of this, because spamming the field with this deck shouldn't be too hard. But Soul Exchange, just in case you have 2 monsters, and you can use one of your opponent's monsters to summon Slifer. And if they have one that could survive his effect of reducing their attack by 2000, you could just kind of clear it out with that. Lightning Vortex, Swords of Revealing Light, and where is it? Oh, I guess it's not in here. These cards are basically just kind of help the 2 spells that kind of help stall until you can get Slifer out. Swords of Revealing Light for 3 turns. So if you already have Slifer in hand, you can just wait 3 turns, get some more monsters on the field. And then Lightning Vortex just kind of keeps your opponent's monsters off the field and helps you survive a little bit longer until you at least get your Egyptian God card out. Different Dimension Capsule. You could use Gold Sarcophagus instead of this, but since this is the only basic version of that effect, I'm going to use him. But, basically, you can use him to kind of pick your Slifer out, banish it for 2 turns, and it's face down, so your opponent can't really tell what card it is. But if they know what kind of deck you're running, they're just going to assume, oh, it's Slifer. But, you can just use that banish it, wait for 2 turns, and have Slifer out. Foolish Burial, just kind of get that in release in the graveyard pretty quickly. If not, you could, I'm not exactly sure. I guess you could pick White Knight Dragon. You could send him to the graveyard and then reborn it later. 3 copies of Pot of Duality, just kind of help thin out the deck a lot quicker. And then Mystical Space Typhoon, because Slifer, unlike Obelisk, he can be targeted. I think he can. Let me check. Yeah, he actually can be targeted for spells and traps. So if your opponent decides to play like a Lightning Vortex, Dark Hole, because you don't have to worry about like trap holes or bottomless trap holes, because whenever summon cards and effects can be activated, so if your opponent basically can't negate Slifer, but if they do have a card that will just wipe it off the field, like Lightning Vortex or Dark Hole, you can just Mystical Space Typhoon that, or Draining Shield or Magic Cylinder if your opponent decides to run those. And then lastly, 3 copies of Monster Reborn. It's kind of like a done any deck, but I have 3 copies to kind of help spam the field. And you can also use your opponent's monsters for tributes for Slifer, so that's pretty cool. And now for the traps. Mirror Force, basically the same purpose as Lightning Vortex, kind of helps stall your opponent and keep your field clear so you can have a wide open attack for Slifer. Draining Shield to kind of help keep your life points up in case you're not drawing those cards that you need, like Mirror Force, Lightning Vortex, etc. Call the Haunted, just kind of help bring one of your monsters back and get it ready for Slifer to come out. Jam Defender, this is the combo I was talking about earlier. I call it the Invincible Revival Jam. I think it's a neat combo to use in here, but I'm thinking about taking it out once I get some more Marshmallon cards or Destiny Hero Defender or some other cards I need. But basically what the idea behind this is to have Revival Jam in defense mode, and then equip it with Mistbody so it can't be destroyed by battle, and then Jam Defender, so basically your opponent can only attack Revival Jam, which practically is invincible by battle, thanks to Mistbody. So that's a neat little combo I thought I would use in here. Plus Revival Jam, if you remember from the anime, that creepy guy Strings, I think his name was, the guy who was being controlled by Merrick, and he first used Slifer against Yugioh. So I thought it'd be really neat to use Revival Gem like he did in the show. Then 2 copies of Metal Reflect Slime, because it's a trap, one of those trap monster things, and you flip it over and it's an instant 3000 defense wall. So another card you can use to bring out Slifer quicker. And then lastly, 3 copies of Reckless Greed, basic drawing power, but every time you activate a Reckless Greed, you have to skip your next 2 draw phases. But that shouldn't be too much of a problem for you if you have a good hand in this deck. So yeah, that's it for the deck so far. No extra deck for this one. But some of the cards, like I said, I need more copies of are Destiny Hero Defender, Marshmallon, which I already have a copy of Marshmallon waiting on me to get in a trade from a friend. Infinite cards for the same reason, but then the cards I'm having trouble finding are Chainsaw Insect. It's a 4-star monster with 2400 attack, but his effect is that whenever he battles an opponent's monster, your opponent draws 1 card. Part of the same strategy as Destiny Hero Defender, your opponent draws a card, but then the last card I really need for this deck is 3 copies of Appropriate. It's a continuous trap, and basically what it does, the effect is that whenever your opponent draws outside of their normal draw phase, you draw 2 cards. So you use that continuous trap in combination with Chainsaw Insect's effect and Destiny Hero Defender, so that kind of helps with drawing power in this deck. But I've only used it a couple times, and so far it's done fairly decent. It's a really fun deck to use because it runs 2 copies of the original of a playable Slifer the Sky Dragon, which is pretty fun to use. Because once you get him out on the field, if your opponent summons a monster's attack is reduced by 2000, if it hits 0, it's automatically destroyed, so kind of helps keep the field clear. Oh, and also another card I'm wanting to put in this deck is 3 copies of Hardened Armed Dragon. Because if you use him to tribute summon Slifer, Slifer can't be destroyed by card effects, so the only thing you can do is destroy him by battle. And if you have Slifer on the field by tributing a Hardened Armed Dragon, and then have either the Invincible Revival Gem, Marshmallon, or White Knight Dragon, then basically you have an invincible Slifer out on the field. So that's pretty much game for you. So once I get this deck finished, I have pretty good feelings about it. Like, it's going to be a really neat deck to use. And yeah, hope you liked it. Give me some suggestions in the comments down below. And if you have any of the cards I needed, again, I need 2 copies of Destiny Hero Defender, 1 copy of Marshmallon, 3 copies of Appropriate, and 3 copies of Chainsaw Insect, and 3 Hardened Armed Dragons. So I'll put those in the description down below and you can look those up. If you have those cards, I will be willing to do a trade because I kind of need those cards to finish this deck. But yep, hope you liked it, and thanks for watching.